Saudi domestic league. Now it's bought an entire game, professional golf, at least so say its critics. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has an appetite to make his country a player, and not just in sport. Modernisation, admirers say, and reform. Human rights groups, though, say countries who just 5 years ago shunned the prince after one of his critics was killed and dismembered shouldn't help him sportswash, as they call it, the country's record of repression and abuse. Engagement or change, which should come first? That's the real story from the BBC, which is coming up right after the news.
I'm Debbie Russ with the BBC News. Hello. The co-founder of OceanGate, the firm that built and operated the Titan submersible, has rejected claims that it cut corners, leading to the deaths of 5 people. Guillermo's Online told the BBC that the craft, which imploded while diving to the wreck of the Titanic, went through rigorous safety checks. But William Conan from the Manned Underwater Vehicles Committee says he warned the firm 5 years ago about safety concerns.
For all the engineering and how smart we are, at some point there's just certain processes that we trust, and we're only smart because we remember what we did wrong last time. And we like to say rules are written in blood because it's in there because it caused trouble before, and to say, well, I think we're just going to ignore that and go on our own way suggests there might be a bit of input of wisdom that this might not be the best decision.
United Nations Human Rights Chief has warned that the new outbreak of violence in the occupied West Bank could spiral out of control. Volker Turk said the latest killings, along with what he called inflammatory rhetoric, would drive Israelis and Palestinians deeper into an abyss. He was speaking after a week in which 14 Palestinians and 4 Israelis were killed. Scores more were wounded and dozens of houses damaged in villages in the northern West Bank. The youngest son of Myanmar's ousted leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, has called on the international community to put more pressure on the military government to release her from jail. Kim Aris, who's never previously spoken to international media about his mother's detention, said she must not be left to languish in prison. Mr. Aris told the BBC he would love to speak to his mother.
There's lots of things I would like to say to her, and I'd like to tell her to stop getting in so much trouble, but I know that she's good at that, and she won't listen to me on that front. She will always continue with the fight that she started on.
Facebook and Instagram's parent company Meta has said it will begin restricting access to news on its platforms for users in Canada. It's in response to a new law that forces tech giants to compensate news outlets. The Canadian government says it's necessary to restore fairness. Here's João de Silva.
Meta is saying that Instagram users, Facebook users, they're not coming to these platforms primarily for news content. And of course, now they're saying that if this legislation indeed becomes a law, then they will block any content from Canadian news organizations. And if you want to know what happens next, well, we'll have to look at jurisdictions where similar legislation has been introduced, like Australia. And according to the Australian government, despite some initial resistance from internet companies, the legislation has produced the desired effect. Internet companies have reached deals with news organizations which are getting a very crucial boost in revenue.
World News from the BBC. Ukraine says it has shot down more than a dozen Russian missiles, which were fired in the early hours of Friday. The missile attack had prompted an air raid alert for the whole of the country. More than 2 weeks after Ukraine's counter-offensive against Russia began, the Prime Minister, Denis Shmyhal, has told the BBC that gains are being made, but he cautioned that progress would not be quick. Emmanuel Macron has described Russia as a destabilizing force in Africa. The French president said private Russian militias were preying on civilian populations and carrying out extortion. He mentioned in particular the Wagner Group and its presence in the Central African Republic. The group's been accused of carrying out atrocities there in an attempt to win control of lucrative gold mines. South Korean police have raided the offices of a city government led by a controversial mayor, just days after he tried to stop a gay pride festival taking place. Michael Bristow reports.
The mayor of Daegu, Hong Joon-pyo, is a conservative who's made 2 attempts to become South Korea's president. Last Saturday, he led a group of 500 local officials in an attempt to disrupt an annual LGBT event. It led to clashes with the police. Officers have now raided City Hall. They say it's part of an investigation into alleged breaches of election law by the mayor, but he insists it's revenge and has accused the police of acting like gangsters.
Zimbabwe's electoral body has cleared 11 people to take part in presidential elections in August. This includes the two front-runners, the 80-year-old incumbent President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his much younger opposition rival Nelson Chamisa. There have been already accusations of an intensifying crackdown on the opposition. The number of candidates is half that of 2018, after many opted out, blaming exorbitant fees. BBC News.
This is the real story from the BBC.
Now, on the back of a strong services component, which is 80% of the UK economy, printing a decent expansionary picture, versus a weak manufacturing picture. I still think it sees as growth 0.1, 0.2% for the quarter. Nothing to hang out the bunting on, but at least avoids that rhetorical and impact of a shrinking quarter, which has a pass-through to business confidence, to household confidence. When the data, when business shows such as this, tell the story of a negative quarter, that has an impact on expectations, on sentiment, on business investment intentions. So I think the fact that we've seen PMIs today that on aggregate suggest a Q2 expansion is encouraging.
Well, we do try and tell the full story here. Simon, good to see you as ever. Thank you.
My pleasure.
In the last couple of hours, the Chancellor has been meeting lenders of some of the big UK high street bank mortgage lenders in Downing Street. Our political correspondent Rob Powell is at Downing Street. Rob, all the big guns have been turning up. I've seen Charlie Nunn from Lloyds there and Debbie Crosby from Nationwide. Any readout yet on what's been discussed?
Yeah, 7 or 8 of them went in just before 8 o'clock. That meeting was due to start at 8 a.m. and then came out about half an hour ago. So an hour and 20, an hour 30 meeting. So far we don't have any specific details from the Treasury side. We are expecting something fairly soon though. We tried to grab a word with a few of the bosses as they came out as well. We didn't have much luck, but Charlie Nunn from Lloyds did give us a broad overview of how things went. Have a listen.
What did you say to the Chancellor? What did you say to the Chancellor?
Good working level discussion. What do you think about how we continue to support mortgage customers? I'll leave it to the Chancellor to announce. Thank you.
So, productive discussion, Charlie Nunn said there. In terms of what they were expected to talk about, we know what it wasn't is any talk about the government providing direct support to help people pay their mortgages. Both the government and Labour as well both agree that would be counterproductive. So I think what it really is sort of updating on a mortgage summit that happened in December last year, which was about some of the flexibilities that lenders already have to help people that are struggling with their mortgage repayments, and how frequently they are sort of seeking out and identifying people that may be at risk of not being able to meet their monthly repayments. So you're talking about things like extending the mortgage term to lower the monthly repayments, mortgage holidays, potentially shifting onto interest-only mortgages as well. So I think those are the sorts of things that will have been discussed today. Of course, all of those things, though, overall mean that a borrower is paying more total interest over the life of the mortgage. So it's not really dealing with, I guess, the broader issue of an age now with higher interest rates, and I think that sort of speaks to the broader political risk for the government now of going into an election year next year and facing the voters when mortgage rates are still likely to be at levels they've not been at in a very, very long time, and potentially coming off off the back of a recession caused by those increased interest rates as well. And I think that's why you're finding a lot of people on the Tory side sort of searching around for someone to blame, if you like, and a lot of accusations directed towards Andrew Bailey, the Bank of England governor. Crucially, though, the government maintaining that the bank needs to do what it can and do what it needs to do to try and bring inflation back under control.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Bit of breaking news to bring in that we've had in the last few moments. Junior doctors in England will strike for 5 days from the 13th of July in what is thought to be the longest single period of industrial action in the history of the National Health Service. That's according to the British Medical Association. We'll have more on that throughout the morning here on Sky News. Yesterday's Bank of England rate rise doesn't seem to have had much of an effect on mortgage rates so far today. According to Money Facts, the latest data from them, the average two-year residential fixed mortgage rate hasn't changed today. It remains at 6.19%. The average five-year fixed residential mortgage rate is 5.83%. That's up ever so slightly from 5.82% yesterday. There are currently 4,444 residential mortgage products available. That is down from 4,507 yesterday. Well, joining me now is Polly Gilbert. She's Marketing Director at the mortgage broker Tembo. Paulie, welcome to you. A lot of incoming for you over the last 24 hours, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. It's been the story of the last year, really, that we've had this turbulence in the market, and yesterday's announcement has been no change. But it's good to see that interest rates have stayed fairly stable from lenders, and that's really because most lenders have already priced in some of these future rate rises.
And also worth pointing out, I guess, I mean, there are still nearly 4,500 mortgage products out there on the market. I mean, there is still choice for those who are looking to remortgage or indeed buy for the first time.
Absolutely. And I think that is the main message that we try and get across to customers is the headlines at the moment are really very scary. And I think it's causing a lot of upset and fear amongst homeowners and first-time buyers. But actually, there are a huge amount of products out there. There are a number of different options that can help people to keep their monthly repayments low, things like interest-only mortgages, extending the term, which can be done for a period of time. You don't have to stay on a long mortgage term for the entire duration of your mortgage. It can just be to see you through a period where purses are really pinched. On top of that, we've seen a really big increase in the number of people looking at guarantor mortgages, in particular a product called a joint borrower sole proprietor mortgage. And these are increasingly popular amongst not only first-time buyers who need a boost to affordability, but also people that are remortgaging and actually just need some support to be able to do that. So there are options out there. I really would encourage people to go and seek support from experts.
Obviously, the money markets are not predicting any reductions in interest rates until early 2025 now. Is that potentially going to tempt some people into just going on a floating rate for now and not risking going in for longer than 2 years?
Interesting question. So we actually saw that variable rates were incredibly popular in the period after last autumn. They haven't been quite so popular recently. I think people are shaken. Consumer confidence has been shaken a bit by increased rates. We're seeing at the moment people looking in for kind of 2 to 5 years as the most popular option. But let's see what happens.
Michael Gove obviously has been calling for a greater take-up of 25 to 30-year mortgages to get over this mortgage shock. I mean, it's worth pointing out there are such products available on the market. No one seems to want to buy them.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of headlines a few years ago about 10-year mortgage terms. These, I think, it's quite a scary thing to do, to lock in for a product for 10 years, particularly when the market is so volatile. You're obviously sacrificing any potential reduction in costs in that period, as well as, I suppose, the upside, which is you could have more stability. So we continue to see that 2 and 5 years are the most popular.
That's interesting. I mean, the other point worth making is that in the US, where these sort of mortgages are commonplace, they have organisations like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which we don't have in this country, that enable the mortgage lenders to sort of, market out some of their risk, if you like.
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what comes out of these meetings today. My anticipation is going to be that it will be mostly focused around supporting borrowers who are in crisis, so people that are unable to make their monthly remortgage payments. And it is important to remember that a lender has a legal obligation to a borrower to look at a number of other options before they move to anything like repossession. My feeling is we're going to be looking at maybe things like reintroduction of mortgage payment holidays that were very popular during the pandemic. But it'll be interesting to see if some of these more interesting products that Michael Gove has been talking about could come out of these conversations.
And what about the overall direction of the housing market now, Polly? I mean, are you anticipating big reductions in house prices for the rest of this year?
It feels like overall expectation is it's going to be around 10%. I feel like a fool anytime I predict anything now because the market has been so volatile. We largely so far this year have seen quite a lot of resilience in the market, and interestingly, we've still seen a lot of inquiries from first-time buyers who I think are really stuck between a rock and a hard place in that rents are going up astronomically, and they know that it's more financially beneficial in the long run to own. So I think there's going to be an interesting situation where house prices will soften slightly, and actually that can be advantageous for first-time buyers who might be chain-free, who are chain-free, and have the ability to negotiate a little bit more. We're definitely moving towards a buyer's market, which will be a welcome change for those looking to get on the property ladder.
Absolutely. Polly, we won't hold your forecasts against you. Good to see you today. Thank you.
Thanks.
UK shoppers continue to spend more last month in the face of the cost of living crisis, with retail sales unexpectedly rising during May. The Office for National Statistics said that retail sales volumes rose by 0.3% during the month. That followed a 0.5% rise during April and was significantly better than expected, with the market having expected a fall of 0.2%. The ONS cited strong sales for online retailers selling outdoor-related goods and summer clothing, which was boosted by the warm weather in the second half of the month. There was also a rise in petrol and diesel sales during the month, although food store sales volumes fell by 0.5%. The ONS said this could partly have been due to more spending instead of on takeaways and fast food because of the extra bank holiday around the King's coronation. Some other business news stories for you now. And the drugs giant GSK said this morning it had reached a settlement in the US over claims that its former blockbuster heartburn drug Zantac caused cancer. GSK, which has always denied the claim, reached the settlement with California resident James Gertz. The case was due to come to court next month in what would have been the first test of how the cancer allegations would fare when heard by a jury. Well, GSK said the settlement reflected its desire to avoid distraction related to protracted litigation in this case. It stressed it had not admitted any liability in the settlement and would continue to vigorously defend itself based on the facts and the science in all other Zantac cases. Shares of Siemens Energy fell by more than 35% this morning after it warned that problems with the quality of turbines produced by its Siemens Gamesa arm could last for years. Siemens Gamesa, one of Europe's biggest manufacturers of wind turbines and a supplier to many of Europe's biggest wind power generators, admitted in January that it had uncovered a batch of faulty components that would cost it €500 million. But Siemens Energy admitted this morning that the problems ran deeper than expected and could take longer than expected to rectify. It said the cost of the business could now come in at more than €1 billion. Shares of Hotel Chocolat have fallen by more than 15% today at one point after the premium chocolate brand warned it will make a loss this year and that profits for next year will be lower than expected. The company, which grows, makes and sells its own chocolate, always said this was going to be intended to be a transition year as it invests for future growth. But it added that cost-saving measures it had put in were taking longer than expected to pay off. It also cited ongoing weakness in consumer sentiment and continuing inflationary pressures. The British oil and gas producer Neptune Energy has agreed to a takeover by the Italian oil major Eni, valuing it at $4.9 billion, including debt. Neptune was founded in 2015 with private equity backing by Sam Laidlaw, the former chief executive of Centrica, the parent of British Gas. Last year it produced an average 135,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day from fields in 8 countries, including the UK, Norway, Germany and the Netherlands. It's now 49% owned by the China Investment Corporation, while the private equity firms Carlyle Group and CVC own 30.6% and 20.4% respectively. Well, stocks in the Asia-Pacific region completed their worst week so far this year overnight as investors focused on rising interest rates around the world. Shanghai, you can ignore the figure there, that was closed for a public holiday. But elsewhere there were declines in Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore, Sydney and in Mumbai. Well, in Europe, stocks are also going into the weekend on a downbeat note. Here's the current picture. All of the main continental European markets in negative territory right now. Here in London, meanwhile, it's been a pretty similar story. The FTSE 100 is off just over 0.1% right now. Oil and mining stocks weighing on the index. The biggest percentage faller is Ocado. Profit takers have moved in there. The stock prices we reported this time yesterday absolutely rocketed on some fairly, what I thought was some interesting bid rumours, let's put it that way. They've come off this morning. While DS Smith, the paper and packaging group, it's off another 4% following yesterday's results. Not too many gainers to mention in the FTSE right now, but GSK, which I mentioned a moment ago, look at that, they're topping the FTSE leaderboard following that Zantac court settlement overnight. The shares some 6% to the good right now. Outside the FTSE, the frequency and microwave technologies specialist Filtronic is ahead by some 7% on a trading update, but the subprime lender non-standard finance is off 43% after scrapping a planned fundraising. It's now going to basically hand itself over to creditors in a move that will wipe out shareholders. And that podcasting specialist Audio Boom, its shares have fallen pretty dramatically this morning as well, currently off some 26% following a profits warning. On the foreign exchange markets, where it's been largely all about dollar strength this morning as traders look ahead to another rate rise from the Federal Reserve. Sterling off by a third of 1% against the greenback. It is, however, up nearly 2/3 of 1% against the euro. The single currency, meanwhile, is off nearly 1% against the dollar. As for the oil price, well, that sold off yesterday amid concerns over weakening demand. A barrel of Brent crude has continued falling today. It will currently set you back $72.98 a barrel. That is off just shy of 1.5% on the session. Well, joining me now is Bill Dinning. He's Chief Investment Officer at Waverton Investment Management. Bill, good to see you this morning. I mean, all of a sudden, everyone is looking really strongly at interest rate rises right around the world, and not just in the UK.
No, in fact, yesterday almost sort of had a coordinated feel about it. The Norwegian central bank raised rates by more than was expected, just like the Bank of England did. Switzerland raised. I think the real thing I think to watch here is first of all, I thought the gilt market reaction was interesting yesterday. Gilt yields at the long end actually fell. I think that might be the market beginning to think, as it was also reflected in some of the inflation swap markets. So a good way of one of the ways of just figuring out what the market thinks future inflation is going to do, that weakened yesterday. So the Bank of England might well decide that actually what they did yesterday is actually gone down okay. And I certainly think in terms of foreign exchange, as you were just highlighting, the critical thing really I think is to look at the pound versus the euro. And the pound is stronger again today. Really weak data in Europe, much worse than ours. Well, certainly worse than ours. And I think sterling doing better against the euro is interesting because there's a lot of gloom and doom and woe is us here. But from a market's perspective, I think look at what currency, look at what sterling's doing, and look at what the gilt market's doing, and actually perhaps there's a ray of hope there.
What about the Federal Reserve in particular? I mean, we had a speech from Jay Powell the day before yesterday where he indicated that there were further rate rises coming down the line. Do you think the US is going to stave off a recession?
Well, we still think that the odds of a recession are certainly over 50%, just because a lot of the indicators of the economic cycle that have historically been good at predicting a recession are pointing that way. One of the ones that I think is quite interesting is just looking at corporate profits in the national income accounts, which sounds terribly complicated, but it's basically just aggregating up the profits made by all companies in the US. So it's obviously dominated by the big companies that we all know, but it also includes all of the unlisted companies, the smaller businesses, etc. Those profits relative to US GDP are declining. In other words, profitability is holding up, but it's declining as a percent of GDP, and that's quite often an early sign that actually we are starting to see some pressure on the profit margins. And if that's the case, then I think that could be another indicator that perhaps the US economy is about to show more signs of slowing. Yes.
Really interesting point. I mean, it's interesting. So, there's been a big debate in this country about this so-called greedflation. I mean, there's nothing in any of the figures to suggest that profit margins are being enhanced at the moment, let alone causing inflation to rise.
Yeah, and I think that's a tricky one because vast majority of industries remain extremely competitive. There are one or two areas where perhaps you've got some oligopolistic, nearly monopoly type behaviour, where perhaps that's the case. But I think for the vast majority of industries, I think certainly a lot of small businesses would say that they're not in a position to go for greedflation. I think part of the problem is that when you've got high inflation, the nominal world, i.e. the nominal GDP or nominal profits generally are going up quite a lot. I often say that the only people who live in the real world are economists because they're focused on real GDP and things, but what matters is actually nominal. And there we have to just be a bit careful because in a time of higher inflation, yes, it may look like there's some profit making going on, but actually if you look under the hood, I agree with you, I'm not sure there's much sign of that. And if demand begins to weaken, that's not going to be possible.
Absolutely. I mean, and on this demand story, I mean, the oil price is just fascinating right now. The Saudis are obviously doing their level best to put a floor under the price, but demand concerns seem to be outweighing just about everything else in how it's trading.
I think that's true, and I think it's also true of the broader commodity complex. If you look at the industrial metals, for example, the commodity complex is possibly starting to sniff out there's a bit of weakness, and don't forget a lot of those commodities are impacted significantly about what's going on in China, and the Chinese are actually doing the reverse of what's happening in the West. So China's actually starting to ease policy because they've got a much weaker economy than they expected 6 months ago when they started to ease their COVID restrictions. That sort of Chinese strength hasn't come through. So they're actually easing policy. And I think, I think just looking at the demand side in the West, though, I do think the commodity complex is also sniffing out some of that weakness, I think.
Yeah. There are some interest rates cuts around. Moldova cut interest rates this week.
We should get there as soon as possible.
Yes, here it's nice this time of year. Bill, good to see you this morning. Thank you. Still to come here on Ian King Live. We're speaking to Willie Chu, the president of Dorset Hospitality International, about why female business owners are more likely to turn a profit in their first month of trading. Stay with us.
Big stories don't always come from big cities.
I'm Ada Williams and I'm an NHS pharmacist. Don't get caught out by COVID this summer. If you have only had one COVID-19 vaccination or haven't had one at all, you can still get your free vaccine until the 30th of June. Book your vaccine through the NHS app, online at nhs.uk/COVID vaccination or call 119 for free. Hi, I'm Ada Williams and I'm an NHS pharmacist. Don't get caught out by COVID this summer. If you have only had one COVID-19 vaccination or haven't had one at all, you can still get your free vaccine until the 30th of June. Book your vaccine through the NHS app, online at nhs.uk/COVID vaccination or call 119 for free.
Corner of the UK, Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
welcome back. Now, female-owned businesses are more likely to turn a profit in their first month of trading than those founded by men. And that's despite the fact that more than 1 in 3 women who start their own business do so with less than £1,000. Well, that's the chief finding of research prepared to coincide with a nationwide campaign to celebrate and encourage female entrepreneurship. Joining me now is Winnie Chew. She's the president of Dorset Hospitality International. Winnie, great to see you again. I mean, you're running the family business now, but you started out with your own burger chain.
Yes, oh my God, good memory. yes. And I'm really feel so privileged to come this time in such interesting times with interest rate and all that. But for sure, I'm a big supporter of women's in business. And look, I was so lucky yesterday because we were actually the first to launch a women's launch lab in conjunction with the Women's Enterprise Week. So basically providing ladies entrepreneur with a 3-day boot camp. And it's amazing. I mean, I had a panel of judges. Mrs. Murty was also together with me. And it's incredible. We have over hundreds of applicants. And at the end, there were 12 contestants. And they lived 3 days on property and really have boot camp training them on different skills. Because I think, as women also in business, sometimes we all have issues. And knowing that, and we may have solutions to it, but knowing that we're not alone, I think makes a huge difference, yes.
So tell me how you're trading right now. I mean, the last time we caught up, you were just opening up here in the UK. You're in 25 countries now. I think you've got more than 60 hotels.
Yes.
I mean, it must have been pretty tough during the pandemic period.
Yes, but again, the motto of the business is really invest in positive impact. So really, we want to help whenever we can. So actually, during COVID time, for us, really, thankfully, last 3 COVID years, we were actually profitable. But it really, for us, it's more like our core value building too, because it shines through. So for example, in the hotels where you kindly visited in the UK, we turned into supporting NHS and letting the medical doctors and nurses stay with us. And places like Germany, we became vaccination centers. Like in Japan, in Hong Kong, we became quarantine homes. So again, really, I think it's important during tough times that we all collaborate and help each other. And like what you said earlier about women's business starting small and all that, one thing I realized is that the difference, I mean, I hope that I'm not going to be say I'm very sexist, but because of my experience in VC as well as PE, that women, majority of time when they start a business, it's because they had a problem themselves and they want to find a solution to it. So in fact, the winner yesterday, Amelia, and she had an accident when she was young, teenage time, and she then designed a clutch that will actually, that first it looks more fashionable, and second it actually ease some ease off kind of all the strength here, so it kind of is more comfortable too, and it's because she's living it every day, so hence she keeps on improving. So I think that is yeah,
I mean, great businesses are often formed out of adverse situations, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, is that true of your business? Did you learn things during the pandemic in terms of how you were running the business that you've been able to take forward into the post-COVID world?
Absolutely. I think in our industry anyway, and a lot of industry now, finding people is absolute the toughest. So we believe in upskilling. So at the moment we are bringing in more technology, but not to remove job, but to upskill them, to train them to use a lot of times. So now we use check-in to robots and all that. So to upskill our colleagues, it's important. And what we're also doing in the UK, we're working with homeless, and in fact we train them to become in our housekeeping. But one of the requirements, of course, is that we need to provide accommodation. So in fact, we've now converted a home and provide accommodations for the homeless, then train them to bring them to work in the hotel.
Wow, and you are doing some other stuff with affordable housing in this country.
Yes. Affordable is really in our heart. We believe that when the tide rises, all boat rises. So we really want to help and be inclusive. So in fact, we're lucky that we are doing one of the biggest projects in the UK. It's building Far East Consortium. It's building 16,000 homes in Manchester, and it's over a 10-year project, and we are here for the long term. And some of our housing that we are launching in Collyhurst really starts from about 200 plus pounds per square feet, and in the city centre, it's below 500. So even of course, a lot of rental is going up. So even I was just talking to my colleagues yesterday. In fact, if you buy now, and you may still have a positive carry because the yield is about 5-6%. But of course, with yesterday's interest rate, it will be more tough. But I have high hopes.
Good, Winnie. It's lovely to catch up with you again after so long. Come and see us again soon. Thank you. Still to come here on Ian King Live. Well, the lack of women in engineering may be down to what courses girls are choosing at school. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Ada Williams and I'm an NHS pharmacist. Don't get caught out by COVID this summer. If you have only had one COVID-19 vaccination or haven't had one at all, you can still get your free vaccine until the 30th of June. Book your vaccine through the NHS app online at nhs.uk/COVID vaccination or call 119 for free.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Hi, I'm Ada Williams and I'm an NHS pharmacist. Don't get caught out by COVID this summer. If you have only had one COVID-19 vaccination or haven't had one at all, you can still get your free vaccine until the 30th of June. Book your vaccine through the NHS app online at nhs.uk/COVID vaccination or call 119 for free.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Body is your man. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Starr Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK, London. We call them London for home. For here, we call them London. And that's how you know. Just have fun and stay blessed.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
This is Starr Radio.
On your smartphone.
Are you ready to turn it on?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is UK. Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio. Starr Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
Love for you runs deep. All of you makes my heart beat. You make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great.
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. And once again, welcome you to the Friday edition of the Morning Show. Today is the 23rd day of June, the year 2023, with the time now 10:44 from the hearts of London. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is the morning show with Archie.
Well, you can see me in my Friday apparel. But I hope that wherever you are, you had a good night or a good day, whichever is appropriate or applicable, and you are here this morning to once again help us celebrate a wonderful day. Let me say good morning to my team this morning, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, Mr. Tabiri, CEO of GIL Accountancy Services, and my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. A good morning also goes to Mr. Frank Davis all the way in Ghana as well. And it's my pleasure once again to also say good morning to my bishop himself, Bishop Adeshina. Good morning, Pastor Mo. Good morning to you. To Felix all the way in Aberdeen, massive good morning, sir. I hope you are doing good. Kojo D, hey Kojo, I hope you are doing well. I salute you and the family as well.
Love for you runs deep.
Mrs. Evelyn Tabiri, good morning to you. The one and only Anthony Adedeji all the way in the US, good morning to you. Aziz, good morning. Moyiwa, good morning. Sir Maxwell himself, the Sir himself. We salute you, sir. I hope you are doing very, very well. All protocol observed, and once again, welcome to the Friday edition of the Morning Show. If it is the first time of tuning in to watch this or listen to us on the Friday edition of the Morning Show, this is how the program goes. I'm going to bring you the quote for the day, the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel update will continue from there. Look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe. It's known as Global Trotting. And then we continue from there. At 11 o'clock, we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki who will be joining in to bring you updates from Nigeria. Then the conversation continues. Looking at our stories making the rounds from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar. At 12 o'clock, the lines are open for you to add your voice to the discussions. At 12:30, the first part of the program is brought to a close, and then we take you straight to Kent, where our own Mr. Tabiri, CEO of GIL Accountancy Services, our money man, is. Where today, I bet you, he's going to be telling you more about what to do. Those of you of us here in the UK, when it comes to the high interest rate, the interest rate that seems to be going up due to the inflation. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. It's going to be a very fun time, of course. The program will not be void of music, so there's going to be loads of them. But if you're celebrating a special day today or over the weekend, feel free and share it with us. And I promise you one thing for sure, we gonna acknowledge and share it with our friends and loved ones as well. But once again, welcome to the show. So the quote for the day says what? It says success means different things to different people, but when it comes to its implementation, it is more than luck. I rest my case. Now moving on straight to the weather front to tell you how the weather is going to be for today and over the weekend.
All of you makes my heart beat.
So we're going to be experiencing this afternoon rather cloudy. Cloud becomes increasingly broken later on, however, with sunny spells. Tonight will continue dry and there will be largely clear skies. A few areas of patchy cloud will drift in at times, however, a warm night expected as well. Temperature is going to be 27 degrees, the low is going to be 15 degrees, pollen level is going to be high, UV level is going to be high, and pollution is going to be low. Sunset 21:22 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 04:43 hours. And when it comes to the temperatures for the weekend, well, Saturday we're going to have a mixture of cloud and sunshine. Top of temperature 29 degrees, lowest 16 degrees. And then come Sunday as well, sunny, tops 29, lowest 14. So that brings us to the end of the weather forecast. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, 10:48, and I'm going to take you to the roads after this commercial break. So stay tuned and don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Hi, I'm Ada Williams and I'm an NHS pharmacist. Don't get caught out by COVID this summer. If you have only had one COVID-19 vaccination or haven't had one at all, you can still get your free vaccine until the 30th of June. Book your vaccine through the NHS app, online at nhs.uk/COVID vaccination, or call 119 for free.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, and we'll keep you navigated. I promise I'm born. The Starr Radio travel update comes away every weekday from 10:40. It's not 10:49. So let's see what is happening on the travel this morning. If you are here in the UK, especially in London, well, the Elizabeth line has got past suspension and severe delay. So if you can avoid it, do so. No service between Paddington and Abbey Wood, while they fix a faulty train at Bond Street. However, there are severe delays on the rest of the line. London Underground is accepting their tickets via any reasonable route. On the Northern Line as well, there are minor delays between Edgware and Golders Green while they deal with a dog on the track. Good service on the rest of the line though. And the Piccadilly line has got no service between Hammersmith and Acton Town while they fix a signal failure at Acton Town. Severe delays between Acton Town and Heathrow Terminals, Uxbridge. That aside, all the others, good service, DLR, good service, London Overground, and London Tramlink, good service there. The major roads in London has got only the central London red roads having a bit of serious delays. However, all the others have got no exceptional delays there. But keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. Also keep it navigated, I promise, our book. Now, on the riverbank this morning, apart from the Woolwich ferry that's got reduced service due to, that's from 06:30 to 19 hours, weekdays only, where they are running, well, until the 9th of July. That aside, all the others, good service there. The London Cable Car has got good service there as well. But it brings us straight to the final segment of the travel updates, that's the National Rail. But continue to keep your eyes on the roads. Want to share with us what is happening in your area? Feel free to do so. Now, so on the National Rail this morning, I went to West Coast. Cross country has got minor delays. First Trans-Pennine Express special service, Island Line special service, Northern Rail minor delays, and Transport for Wales special service there as well. So on that note, as I would do say all the time, say it loud. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? As you do always, do this. Keep your eyes on the roads.
Hi, I'm Ada Williams and I'm an NHS pharmacist. Don't get caught out by COVID this summer. If you have only had one COVID-19 vaccination or haven't had one at all, you can still get your free vaccine until the 30th of June. Book your vaccine through the NHS app online at nhs.uk/COVID vaccination or call 119 for free.
Welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 8 minutes to the top of the hour, and therefore it is time for Global Trotting. All right then. Bishop Adesina says, yes, he'll be filling us with a few economic analysis based on a seminar scheduled today. Okay, so Bishop will be waiting for that. Anytime you get it, you just post it, and then we'll be putting it across to all our listeners. Okay, so what is happening across the globe today? Yes. When Bishop puts that one, I'll be bringing that your way. But DMO warns against borrowing as Nigeria's debt nears 81 trillion naira. Interesting. We are prepared to welcome investors to Nigeria. Tinubu tells Afrexim Bank, the EBRD president in Paris. And noodles produced in Nigeria safe, free of ethylene oxide. And Sanwo-Olu at Lazu's 26th convocation urges Nigerians to embrace student loan law. And well, we talked about that, but we're talking more about it in a moment. But Bill Gates unveils 7 billion intervention for Nigeria and others. Mahama urges Nigerians to support anti-corruption crusade. The ex-Central Bank of Nigeria deputy governor warns Tinubu against making naira stronger as banks sell. Okay, we'll be telling you more about what is bank selling. And Nigeria Air Chief promised to end banditry and terrorism. Well, let there be actions, less speaking and more actions. That's what we call for. The NLC questions government against increasing electricity tariff. So what should government do? The CBN contributed to Nigeria's inflation. Mogalu is saying, and DSS terrorists planning to attack worship centers during Eid Kabir. Okay, so keep an eye. We hope that the imams and all those will see to keep an